Welcome to Art with Dianne Mahaffee. Today we will do training painting number 4. This is a bird painting of a cardinal on a pine tree limb. You will learn how to make a bird look like a painting and not a scientific rendering. You will also learn how to do shadowing on the cardinal by using the complementary colors. Finally, you will see how to pull the painting together at the end to make it look unified and cohesive. Don't forget to do 2 paintings of this so that you can work on one while the other is drying. Let's get started. Alright, today we are going to work on a red cardinal with this watercolor painting look. So that's basically what we're going to do. Hannah's going to paint right along with us. And very quickly, just to run over what you need, you'll need a plain watercolor set or something comparable, a 1-inch flat brush, number 10 round brush. Make sure they're watercolor brushes. 9 by 12-inch watercolor paper, water jug with water, paper towel, ruler, pencil and eraser. You don't need table salt for this one. That was for the last one. But the desire to learn. And that it will be what you need to do this one. All right, I've already, to save time, sketched a little bit of my bird. You don't need to do any details. So I'm going to continue to sketch. So the best thing to do when sketching the bird is start right here under the beak and just draw a nice upside down arc. Just think about a gentle curve. Come up a little higher, do the tail, cross the back, and then the cardinal excuse me, has that little peak, and then the beak. Alright, so I'm going to put the little star-like shape that will be black, an eye. Now let's do the limbs. Don't do the feet yet. You save those for last. Alright, I'm going to come in right here. And I'm going to make a branch come out. And then it's going to come down. Alright, have it coming in from the top corner. And then one's going to swing this way and go behind and branch out. And just go into a point. We're not going to draw any pine needles right now. We'll paint those in. Alright, make your limb get smaller as it goes down. Then right here, it's going to go into a point. It's going to come by here and go out into a point. The feet, legs and feet will sit on that. And then down some more, getting smaller. And down into a point. So you got that done. Do not draw the wing. And now you can do the legs. Alright, make the legs go at a diagonal. Like this. This one you'll see on that side. This one you won't. 3 curves or comma shapes, backward comma shapes. And then you're ready to start doing the background. Okay, so I'm going to do the background. And talking about water jugs, you see these little water jugs I have. I keep these, they're orange juice containers because I teach a lot of students at my studio. And they're just so nice because in the bottom of them, and I guess you can see this, you'll see how it bulges up and you can just wash your paintbrushes out so easily with those. And they're really thick plastic too. So yeah, I've got all those expensive, great water containers that artists use, but I just want to use what a beginner watercolor student will probably need. And at first, you can't have, buy everything that you need. All right, I'm priming my paper, and you remember that means put 2 layers of water on. All right, I'm coming down over the whole thing. Yes, over the bird, over the limbs. Wet that. We're thinking about the background. We want it to be soft, soft edges, kind of diffused with blues, greens, like you would find in nature. All right, I'm putting one layer on to start with. All right. Now I'm going to check and make sure I didn't miss a spot. All right, now I'm ready to do my second layer. If you'll remember, the first layer of water sinks into your paper. The second layer of water floats on the surface, and that's the layer that enables your paint to move around and give you those soft edges. So I'm getting the second layer on, and I'm just kind of holding it up so you can see it. Straight up on an easel is not a good idea for a watercolor artist, but sometimes you want a little slant to your work, but it's not necessary. All right, I've got mine really shiny and wet everywhere except I see a dry spot right up here. All right, I've got it primed, so now I'm ready to put blues on everywhere. Light, medium, dark, blues everywhere. Forget about the greens to start with. All right, just put your blues on and get it darker in some areas, medium in others. And then when you get ready to go across the bird, that's right, across the bird, keep your values kind of light. I'm using my 1-inch flat brush. It's a good brush for doing so much. All right, keep working and work quickly. All right, see how the water's moving the paint around? And I've got mediums and lights. I need to get a few more darks on here. I'll put some more darks. This will not cover your pencil lines up. You'll still see through them. All right, now after you get your blues everywhere and check your values to make sure you have light, medium, and dark, then jump right into the green. That's right, jump into the green. Do not wash out that brush. At the end of each pointy limb, pat some green on, because that's where you'll later paint pine needles, and that'll give it some depth. Your green will look a lot better if you don't wash that brush out and use that plain green that's in the paint set, because I usually never use it alone. I can't think of any time I do. All right? Now, after you have a wet on wet background done, let it dry. Let it get completely dry. All right, so I'm going to wash out my brush. Done with my background, but I've got to let it dry. So I'm going to turn my little fan on right here. And I'm looking over there at Hannah. She's doing a good job getting her wet on her background. And get that thing bone dry, because you don't want to start painting on anything else until that's dry. Well, it'd probably ordinarily take mine 20-30 minutes to dry. So in the meantime, I'm going to put it aside, and I'm going to get one that I have prepared that I did yesterday for this lesson. All right, so this is bone dry. And I wanted to show you this watercolor block, which I like. This is an Arches watercolor block. It's cold pressed. It's 140-pound sheets. and it is a lot of watercolor paper glued with a rubber type glue around the edges, and it's almost like a board, but when you get through, you stick your palette knife in right here, and you just go around and pop it right off. And then your other sheet is set and ready to paint. Alright, we're ready to do the bird, the cardinal now. So what I'm going to do is we're going to use complementary colors. Alright, let's look at this color wheel. The opposite of red is green. If you look straight across the color wheel, red is green. So we're going to paint a red bird. We're going to shade it with green. That doesn't mean it's going to look green. It's just going to look shady, shadowy, like the perfect shadow color for a red object. Alright, and we're going to get different values of red. Alright, so we're ready to get started on this. I'm going to dip my brush right in here and just go right to my red. And on this dry paper now, I'm going to start very quickly getting my cardinal with red local color and different values. Wet that brush when you start to go into your red paint. Alright, wet the tip, get some red. Never pour water into your pans in your watercolor set when you're a beginner, especially. There's times you might spritz your paints when you have a palette, but that's another lesson for another day, and that's for advanced class. Alright, now notice how I'm defining my edges, and that blue that went across my cardinal, that didn't affect this red covering up this area. Now keep that red wet. I'm going to go back and re-wet this with some paint and water so that my green shadow color is going to do a magical thing in just a minute. I'll get the little tail feathers done, define those edges. All right, make sure it's wet before you go to your green. All right, I'm going right to my green. You don't even need to wash out your brush. Did that hurt my green? Not at all. All right, I'm sweeping this green through here to shadow his little tummy. He needs some shadows on the tail. It's not making it green, it's making it the perfect shadow color for a red object. And this object is the cardinal. Alright, now shadow some of the wing with the green, and it's mixing with the red on the paper. Don't mix your colors in your little pan set. You don't even need to mix it on a palette for this. I'm getting it real dark. Now see how much more three-dimensional my bird became. And while I've got this color on my brush, I'm going to just go ahead and put some right here on the beak. It's kind of a neutral color. And I might add a little touch of yellow to that later. Now don't paint the little black mask because remember this red is wet and we want to let that dry. Alright, so I can start working on the limbs now. Alright, I'm going to wash out my brush and I'm going to go right to my brown. Alright, I'm going to start up here in the corner. Coming this way. And I'm going to go over here. Now see, I'm redefining my limbs now. I can see them with the pencil lines. I'm not sure if you can with paint on it, but it'll be good to see them a little clearer. And watercolor is transparent, so you can see your lines right up close. Alright, now when I get close to that tail could still be wet. So I'm going to be careful and not touch it, because my brown would flow into my red. Alright, make sure that brown stays wet, because I'm going to be adding some black. Remember when we did the winter trees in the snow? This is the same principle. Now, I know my red bird could still be wet, so I'm going to save a tiny little hair-like space of dry white paper right there, because I don't want my brown to flow into my bird or the red to flow up into the brown. Alright, go right to my black. I'm going to say that the light's coming from the right, so this side of my limb would be darker. And the top. And again, the left side would be darker. The left side. The left side. Alright, it makes your branches look a little more 3D. While I've got that on my brush, I'm going to go ahead and put that little branch in that's coming into the picture from way above. Alright, I'm going to go down here and do these. I'm going to do brown and then black, just like I did up here. I could have put brown on all of it, even this down here, but then it makes it harder to keep it wet so that you can add your little shadow, which is black. Alright, so I'm going to wash out the black. Always wash out the black out of your brush when you're changing colors, because it will mess up your other colors. Alright, going right to my brown. Alright, I'm going to be really careful right here again, close to my bird. I can always go back and touch that in later with just a hair-like brush. Alright, here's the limb the bird's going to be standing on, and then it branches this way into a point. The way you make points is you just lift your brush up quickly. Alright, I'm ready to put some black on. Go right to your black. Remember, left side, keep things consistent. Lift, a little more black. Bottom side, lift, lift. So you'll get a point. Alright, so I've got my legs and toes to do. I've got this part. Now, let me check. I would say in a minute or two it would be wet enough to do. But since I've got black on my brush, I'll go ahead and put the little pupil in the bird's eye. And I think it is dry enough. Alright, now I'm not going to prime that area or anything. I'm going to circle around the eye. That just helps you to be careful and stay out of it. Outline this little star-like shape. And if it does bleed out and fuse out just a little bit, that's okay, because they have some little black feathers around that area. Alright, fill it in with black. That really defines what a cardinal is. Alright, it's beginning to come to life. Yeah, be careful around the eye. You don't want to fill it in. Alright, let's check and see if I can do the feet. Nope, it's a little bit too wet. So let's jump over and do our pine needles now. Alright, this bird is in a pine tree. So we're going to get green on our brush to start with. And I'm using my number 10 round. Alright, get green. And this will really teach you to make nice pointy strokes. I'll just start right here. Out. Go out from that limb. Don't go in, because it'll look chopped off. Out, out, out. Make them long. I think most beginners that do this lesson, they make them really short. I like those long needle pines. Pine needles. I don't know about you, but I know I've seen them around Kershaw and Heath Springs and other areas. Alright, so after you do that, go to your next one. And it's going to look funny at first until we put some shadowing in. Let them crisscross. Alright, let them run out of the picture. But look what's back behind these pine needles. That really soft background color of green. That just makes them look thicker. Alright, wet the tip, get some green. Here's another end of a pointy limb. Out, out, out. Don't go in. Don't do it like this, because that doesn't look natural. Let me fix that. Go out, 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 away from it. Crisscrossing, adding some thickness of this organic matter called pine needles. Alright, up here, same way. Out, out. Keep wetting the tip of your brush. Keep it wet. You want it to flow like ink. You don't want it to be sticky, gummy, or like acrylic paint, because this is watercolor. Alright, now I'm going to go right to my black. While my green pine needles are still wet, now I'll add some black. Just a little bit. Gives it a little bit of depth. Some will get soft and bleed a little bit into the green, and that's good. Some will be sharp, so you'll have sharp edges, some soft edges. Just a few. You actually do more green ones than you do black. But see how that looks better than that without the black? Alright, wet the tip, get some more black, put some more up here. Let some run out of the painting. And they're pointy because I went out. Alright, while those dry a little bit more, now I'll jump over here and do my legs. Want to use a tiny little pointy brush, no bigger than the one I'm using right here, the number 10 round. But I could actually use this one if I wanted to. This is a liner brush, and it's very pointy. But I'm going to be very careful and just use my point. Alright, I've got the legs on. Now make the toes that curve. Please make the toes curve and not be straight. And they curve around that branch as he's holding on. Alright, I've got one more thing to do, and this is going to really pull the painting together. I'm going to add the centers right here of the pine needles, which is the little blossom on a pine tree. And usually they're yellowish brown. But guess what? Being the artist that you are, you want to pull this painting together because we just have one red object here. So we want to make it all work together. So I'm going to get red. And I'm going to just add some little red specks around the center. It can be beautiful pollen. Who says pollen has to be yellow? In fact, I have a red car. I think I would rather the pollen be red. It wouldn't show up so much on my car in the spring. All right, look how the red just pulled it all together. Well, I hope you enjoyed this lesson. And now I hope you'll not only paint 2 red cardinal paintings, but research some other birds as well. And do some other birds and have a wet on wet background going on. And maybe some other types of trees or leaves that may be playing around in the background as well. Thank you for watching Art with Dianne Mahaffee.